A brief comment before this episode of Inspired by Yarra gets underway. And that is to note that this conversation that you're about to listen to was recorded well before COVID-19 was impacting life as we know it. We believe that this content is still relevant and helpful, and we do want to acknowledge the current challenge that we're all facing. And thus, we invite you to share this or any other episode of Inspired by Yarra from our extensive library with the people who you think that it could help. Take care out there. Hey, hello, and welcome to another episode of Inspired by Yarra. This is the podcast that's created to enhance, connect, and inspire the Yarra Valley Grammar community and beyond. So wherever you're listening from today, I want to thank you for tuning in. My name is Paul Joy, and it is my privilege each episode to sit down with another YOG, a Yarra Old Grammarian, and we track some of their memories of their time at school and how that has impacted and maybe influenced where they are in their journey of life today. Now, we have an ever-expanding library of Inspired by Yarra episodes, and you can find them on the yvg.vic.edu.au website under the community section. Right down the bottom, there's a link to the podcast, and you can see 45 plus episodes there of other inspirational guests that we've had who all have walked these corridors, who have worn this uniform, who have been part of the student class here at Yarra Valley Grammar. And it is my privilege today to sit down with another YOG. We're going back to the class of 2000, and I'm going to be sitting down shortly with Squadron Leader Chmiel, member of the Royal Australian Air Force from the class of Yarra Valley Grammar in the year 2000. We're going to chat about life as in the armed forces and some of the I guess I'm going to ask him about the challenges of getting up there in the plane and the G-forces and the impact of your body and what does it take to be able to cope with all of that. But initially, I'm going to ask him, where is it that he's calling from? I hope you enjoy this episode of Inspired by Yarra. Chris, where are you?
I'm sitting on RAF Base Williamtown, which is close enough to Newcastle in Australia, at work, but currently have the door closed.
So at work, so when you are not flying planes, what does work look like?
So I'm a fighter pilot in the Royal Australian Air Force. As a fighter pilot, your main job is to train every day, flying fighters, getting very good at trying to shoot down other people in aeroplanes and trying to hurt people and damage things on the ground. That's a quick explanation, but the detail is to know everything about your aircraft, its systems, its weapons, develop the tactics to counter the threats that are out there, understand the bad guys' equipment and the way they use it to try and exploit your own strengths and their weaknesses. So every day you're training a bit like a sports person or sports team might to work on that plan so that if ever you're called up and need to do something, then you're ready to go.
Wow. I mean, that's quite fascinating and not as easy as it might sound. Like you just let it roll off the tongue as though, are you in the plane every day? When you say training, are you up in the air or is it a lot of book work?
It is both. So up in the air pretty much every day. The flights are fairly short because fighters don't carry a lot of fuel unless we do air-to-air refueling from a tanker. So you typically, in a normal day in Australia, you fly for maybe an hour actual flight. The rest of the time is book work, briefing, debriefing, and of course all the admin and personnel stuff that goes along with probably almost any job nowadays. But the majority of your job is revolves around flying, even if that means that for every hour you're in the plane, you're probably doing 8 or 9 hours of ground work related to that flight.
And that's a fascinating insight for us to to recognise the preparation and the ongoing work that goes into actually getting you up in the air, for, as you say, for an hour. There's also those hours and hours on the ground of getting ready to do what you've got to do when you're up in the air. What is the plane that is your plane at the moment? What can you describe it? What does it do? What's it really good at?
Sure. The one I'm actually flying right now is called the Hawk 127. That's a jet trainer. Some countries use it as their fighter, but for us, it's not a very good fighter. It's a simple jet that we use for teaching the younger fighter pilots the basics of fighter tactics. I sit in the back seat and I instruct the baby fighter pilots. But let me answer the main plane that I've flown and the one that I'm most proud of. That's called the FA-18 Hornet. It's one of our now frontline fighter aircraft. It's difficult to say what it's most good at. It's designed as what they call a multi-role fighter. So it does air-to-air, shooting down other airplanes, and air-to-ground, which is bombing and shooting things on the ground. It's designed to be able to fight its way in, so shoot down other airplanes, to then destroy targets on the ground and then fight its way back out. So it's multi-role. As you can imagine, an airplane like that needs to have a lot of strengths and a lot of things that you think about. So it's not like it can be very specialised about any one particular thing. And that's part of our job, is to understand enough about everything that we need to. So all the things that are required to get ourselves in, do the job and get out.
There must be moments, like I'm not great with heights at the best of times.
Funny thing is, I'm not either, actually. I don't know how that works, but I don't, if you're in a high hotel room, I don't like standing near the window, but for some reason that's not an issue to me in an aeroplane.
I've got a problem with that. You're sitting behind the controls of this beast of a plane that can do all these twists and turns and get in and get out of trouble really, really quickly, and yet you're not great with heights.
I know it sounds silly. I don't know why it's different. It is. My wife laughs at me a lot whenever I get jittery near the edge of something, but I think that's a healthy respect for heights. But for whatever reason, in an aeroplane, doesn't seem to worry me.
What about the notion, though, and I imagine whether you call it G-forces or the, turbulence, that dropping sensation, is that something that you experience when you're going at the speeds you're going at the heights that you're going at, or is that not an issue? Like me on a passenger plane, we drop a little bit and so does my belly, but you in this jet fighter, do you experience turbulence?
You definitely do get turbulence, but that's not really a very big thing compared to the G that you touched on. G-force comes as a result of turning very fast and tight. At the maximum G that we regularly pull in the jet, we're pulling about 8G, which means that everything on your body and everything you're experiencing weighs 8 times the normal force of gravity. So that means that your head plus the helmet, which has some funky stuff on it, maybe weighs 10 kilograms normally, but that means when you're doing 8G, you've got an 80 kilogram weight on your neck, and you're trying to look around behind you to see other airplanes and keep tabs of what's going on. So it's actually quite surprisingly physically demanding on your back and neck.
So I imagine, therefore, that physical fitness is actually part of your responsibility as well. Do you spend time regularly working out as such?
You can see me, Paul. I think you know the answer to that. No, not normally. But as it happens, we've realised in the Air Force that we're breaking a lot of people's backs and necks quite badly. So over the last couple of years, there's been a big investment in that with very tailored programs. So right now, down the hall, we've got the ex-head physio of the Brisbane Lions, who's our full-time physio. We've got a guy who runs a special set of weight machines designed for just your neck and head. So you strap your neck and head in and strengthen your neck and back. And then we've got another gym with a couple of instructors who run programs, again, aimed at strengthening core, neck and back. Because it's unavoidable. Fighters will always be pulling a lot of G. You're likely to have heavy stuff on your head, and you need to look around very quickly at airplanes behind you who are trying to shoot you down. So that's always going to be there and can't really be managed away. So the best we can do is invest in that physical side of it. So maybe in a year you'll see me, I'll have a big neck and shoulders and back.
So just to be clear, you have a helmet and that's non-negotiable. That's got some things happening in it and for you that you need. You're strapped in, and I'm going to invite you to explain that process in a moment. But really, you still need to be able to look around. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. You need to look literally almost directly behind you to be able to see who's behind you. And, when we're doing dogfighting, you're maneuvering with respect to other airplanes that are all over the sky, including directly behind you, which is bad as a fighter pilot, but absolutely one of the things we're trained to do. So you're regularly turning with, your head very quickly all over the shop with 80 kilograms-ish on your head, on your neck.
Wow. So absolutely, as soon as we finish this call, you get back into the gym.
I think I need it, don't I? I'm a bit quite weedy. Yeah.
So can you walk us through, obviously there's hours and hours of preparation, and you're doing the study and the homework and learning and relearning, but let's say the call comes in and you're called into action. How quickly do you go from hanging up on this call to being in the plane, and what are the steps that happen as you climb up into the cockpit?
Right, so from the speed of response, if you like, that's a very variable thing. For me, right now, I'm in a training job, so I wouldn't ever be immediately back to a frontline fighter. Even for the boys and girls who are flying frontline fighters right now and ready to go, they are on different levels of alert depending on which squadron they're at and our political circumstances. So the exact numbers vary is the short answer. But certainly if we would have good indication that something is potentially brewing, and so those readiness notices would go down so that everyone gets as ready as possible to go. That said, as far as the training and mental readiness, all those guys and girls are ready to go, and their whole job every day is to make sure that they're in tip-top condition and understand and are ready for anything. So they're mentally ready to go on very short notice. In reality, the notice that they're required to act on varies according to what they're doing at the time and what else is happening in the world. Did that answer your question? Was there a second part?
It does. So I guess the notion, let's put you in, I appreciate you're in a training role at the moment, and we will talk about that, but I want to get back out to battle.
Yeah, that's the interesting bit. Yeah.
But clearly we need the training to be able to have more people ready for battle. Where you've got the call, you're heading to the plane. What are you carrying with you as you walk to the plane? You climb up a ladder, do you? You jump in and you say, righto, and you push start, you turn the key. What do you do?
That's a big question. The answer is detailed. Let me use, obviously the type of conflict can vary as well. So let me use an example. When I went to the Middle East a couple of years ago, when we sent our fighters on operations against ISIS in Iraq and Syria, that in the scheme of the conflict that we're prepared for, that's pretty easy and pretty low level, to be honest. There's not really much of a threat against us. ISIS didn't have any aeroplanes, so weren't particularly worried. After we do all our briefing and get out all our gear, you're carrying usually a couple of things that you strap to your legs with various notes and pictures and all of your frequencies and plans essentially on them. You've got a little bag with all your navigation stuff. You've got what we call a brick, which is basically a fancy name for a heavy-duty floppy disk or a USB stick that we've done all of our mission planning on. You plug it into the jet after you've started up, and it grabs all that information, sends it to the jet, and has everything you're thinking about from radar specifics to just navigation information, communication stuff, you name it. It gets sent into the jet. Got some kind of weapon, so usually a pistol and rounds. We've got a whole bunch of survival stuff like radios and a bunch of other stuff that's strapped to you. There's a life jacket, so if you end up in the water, it will keep you afloat with your head above the water, even if you're knocked out. And then in the actual jet itself, it's got a bunch of other life raft and things that are part of the ejection seat. So you grab all your stuff, you go out and you walk around the jet, make sure it's good to go. You do climb up a ladder, you jump in, you strap yourself in, which is a surprisingly complex process, more than just chucking the seatbelt on in the car. You've got to plug in your G suit, your oxygen, your comms, you're connected to the seat and a 5-point harness. You're plugged into that life raft and survival pack I spoke about. And then you turn the key, which again is complex. It's a good 30 minutes from sort of deciding to start and having the jet ready and in a position to taxi and have checked all your weapons and systems.
Wow. And when you're let's put you back in. Where did you say you were, the example that you spoke of most recently in combat?
Yeah, that was based in the UAE, but flying into Iraq and or Syria.
And are you in a plane on your own, or are there two of you?
No, the F-18A, which is the one I was flying, has a single seat. Everything we do, you have at least one wingman, just like Top Gun. So we would normally fly as a pair, so two people, two mates, each in your own jet, but you'd stick together for most things that you did, nearly everything.
And what are you known as? Like, what's your call sign? What's your
Top Gun made you think of that, didn't it?
It did.
Very excited about the sequel coming out in a few months, by the way. We don't. We people do have nicknames. I get Camel, and that's purely as a variation on my surname, which is awkward to spell and pronounce. But we don't really do nicknames like the US or call signs like the US do. You know, when we work with our American colleagues, which we do a lot, we're tightly allied with them. You know, they have lots of very serious call signs, and you introduce yourself, and they're like, "Hi, I'm Snake Blood, and I'm Deathman," and I'm like, "Yeah, g'day, mate, I'm Camel. How you going?" So it's a bit of a different culture.
It's not as kind of, doesn't have quite the same presence, does it? Calling yourself Camel?
No, not so much. But I've never liked people who take themselves too seriously, so I'm happy with our take on it.
Fair enough. Chris, this didn't all begin, and you don't automatically just become a fighter pilot. You don't just put on the suit and then you are. You began dreaming about this, dare I say, maybe thinking about this and planning for this many, many years ago. Let me take you right back to school and your time at Yarra Valley Grammar. At any point during your schooling, did you think that's what I want to do?
Yes. So I wanted to fly from a very young age, I'm guessing about 7 or so, I wanted to fly. You know, in high school, that turned into I want to be a pilot. And then sort of towards the end of high school, I really liked the idea of the Air Force and wanting to be a fighter pilot specifically. So I actually consider myself very lucky. You know, I think that's rare that people have a particular job that they definitely want to do from school. That gave me focus, something to aim for and work towards, and that certainty of knowing what I at least wanted to do, which it's tough, you know, for kids at school to start choosing subjects at whatever age that is now, quite a young age, that ultimately have some bearing on their ability to go into particular career paths that might still be affecting them when they're, you know, well into their 20s, 30s, 40s. So not everyone has that, but yeah, luckily I did. I had something that I was driving for from a young age. And
you're quite right. That does help to give you focus and give you purpose for the studies. But clearly to be a pilot full stop, let alone an Air Force pilot, you've got to be working pretty hard. You've got to be pretty academically astute. You've got to be getting some good results along the way. Did you have an interest in other parts of school as well, or were you focused on academics because I've got to get a particular score to get me into a particular course to get me to a particular next step?
So the funny thing is, to do this job, there's actually less of a focus on academics than you might think. I was an academic kid, and I've always found the academic side of things easier than a lot of the other things in this job. The Air Force tests for a wide range of things, of which the academic stuff is actually quite small and not that big a part. They've got a very kind of specific list of things that they check for through 12 months of recruiting. And yeah, the academic stuff isn't that big a part of it, strangely. So again, maybe as a positive, through school, I felt comfortable that I'd get the grades that I needed to do this. And in a way that took the pressure off. And I still applied myself, but not having to achieve a particular mark or not be worried about achieving a particular mark for a particular uni course, for example, was another positive thing for me where I was lucky.
So if we've got some people who are tuning in and they know somebody or they are somebody who thinks one day I'd like to be a pilot or in fact work for the Australian Air Force, what are some of those other aspects of you, the person, that are part of the process? Like obviously there's a little bit of academics, there must be some physical, there must be some psychological, there must be some ability to make decisions quickly. What are some other things that they might need to be thinking about?
Right. So if someone's actually interested, the best way to start that would be jump on the website, literally Google it, go to the ADF recruiting or whatever it is website and get the most up-to-date information. Because I joined the Air Force 19 years ago, straight from school. A lot has probably and hopefully changed. But broadly speaking, so academic performance is one thing, if only to judge your ability to learn generically, and your motivation and your ability to apply yourself to something. So that's part of it. The psychological you mentioned, so you will have psychological testing, aptitude testing, spatial reasoning, decision making. Physical, again, isn't much of a factor. That can be solved pretty easily with anyone, so that's not that big a deal. And they look for some kind of sort of extracurricular things, so sports and other things are great. Leadership, any opportunity to embrace leadership. You don't need to be school captain, but the willingness to take on leadership is a positive thing. And that's probably it from what I can think of, but I'm sure there's more things that they're looking at behind the scenes.
Sure. We're speaking with Chris Chmiel from the class of 2000. And Chris, you've just mentioned that in order to get where you are, they were looking for really quite a broad scope of who you are and what makes you up. Tell us, when you're at school, what were some of those extra things that you enjoyed doing? Like, where would we find you? Did you hang out in the art room? Were you hanging out on the sports field? Were you hanging out in the queue for the tuck shop? Like, where did you tend to...
Probably all of those things except art. I was never and still am not very artistically minded. I really enjoyed sport. I don't think anyone who knows me would say I'm a highly gifted sportsman. But look, a lot of my memories from Yarra are related to sport. I played soccer and cricket, and on the weekends I always enjoyed the classes and even just playing. I remember often playing soccer at lunchtime or playing basketball at lunch. There, a lot of my memories from Yarra. So I think. A bunch of the time it would be the sport-related things. Definitely not art. I was never really music-y. Probably just go wherever the social forces take you, at that age.
Yeah, for sure. We have something that we call Yarra spirit, which is one of those undefinable and yet almost palpable feelings that you have when you come here. And if I offer that term to you, the Yarra spirit, can you speak to that? Do you recall it? Is it a thing? Do you remember it?
I think I'd be lying if I said I remember it. One of the biggest realizations I've had about Yarra has happened after I left the place. It's I went back some years ago, actually. I had the chance to fly a jet over the school and then come in and talk at assembly, which was great. And so on that day when I came into assembly, I then got a chance to wander the grounds, and it was having that extra perspective on life, and not having been there, you realise really how lucky the students of Yarra are to have those facilities and the sports facilities and the halls and the classrooms. It's and so that's really an example of how it was only on after leaving the school and getting some broader experience that you realise Yarra's got a lot to offer. So I don't think I really appreciated how good the place was, how lucky I was to go to the school until leaving it.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Sometimes stepping away from something and then looking back, and in your situation, actually being able to come back in and remarkable to look at it from the air, mind you, relatively quickly as you fly over the top. But then also to come and walk the grounds again and remember, the time when, and I remember that goal I scored from there and so forth is really a powerful memory to bring back. That's great.
Didn't score many goals, Paul. Don't remember that one, but everything else. Yep.
So what was it like to be around you when you were a kid? What was the you experience? What did other people find when they found you?
I don't know. I'm not the best person to judge that. I wasn't an exceedingly popular kid. I found school challenging socially. It was hard work. Got a very good group of friends out of it now who continue to catch up regularly. But I don't know what it would have been like. That'd be an interesting one. You could have as an annex to this podcast, you could call up a couple of my friends and say, "Hey, what was Chris like back in 1998?" I might not listen to that one.
No, fair enough. But I dare say, do you use the notion that you are squadron leader Chris Chmiel from the Royal Australian Air Force when you go to dinner parties? Like, surely that...
Yeah, I've got all my credit cards, all my mail. I put that squadron leader. No, not at all.
But there's something engaging and something kind of mystical about the notion of your job is to fly and now to train others to fly fighter jets. That's remarkable.
Look, I like it. I find it exciting, but I'm obviously biased. I don't expect anyone else to. My wife keeps me well grounded and doesn't want to talk about work or anything at all much. So no, I don't think anyone likes anyone at a dinner party who just talks about themselves and their job. And so I try not to do that too much.
I appreciate that, but if I found you at a dinner party, I would want to ask lots of questions, and I guess in the Inspired by Yarra podcast, I get to do just that. So maybe I love my job too.
Yeah, look, I'm really passionate about what I do. That's probably the biggest thing. You know, we spoke about before what the Air Force looks for in people entering to do this kind of work, and the passion and the enthusiasm and the commitment is probably the biggest thing. And I still really love my job and I'm excited about it, but I don't necessarily expect anyone else to share that, but I like it when they do.
Absolutely. Well, we're fascinated and really intrigued to hear your journey from school days. And I guess for me, it's a little bit about the notion that other students who might be listening or parents of students who might be listening, and I know a couple who have aspirations to serve, and that's got to be part of your makeup, is that you want to serve. In your situation, you're seeking to serve your country and serve the people, and perhaps even on an international scale, you're seeking to serve, and often it's a peacekeeping form of service in terms of sustaining the lifestyle that we become accustomed to. That's part of your role, is to keep us safe. But I know that there are people who are tuned into the notion of perhaps taking on something that, you know, in terms of a journey, a pathway toward service. I wonder whether you can give us a little insight, because you just talked about passion and commitment. In terms of working for the Australian Air Force, are there routines or rituals or rhythms that are part of your life that you have found, or maybe they've been instilled in you or forced upon you to help you be the best that you can be? You know, whether it's a morning routine, whether it's, we won't suggest that maybe you're doing 1,000 push-ups a day or something like that, but, you know, is there something, a rhythm and routine or habits that you find help you to be your best?
So in the fighter world, we've got a culture of, what would you call it? I guess reflection, debriefing, improvement. It's very tightly ingrained with what we do. I think that's something that is probably the thing that makes the Australian Fighter Force kind of the professional outfit that it is. And it is, you know, I might be biased from the inside, but it is highly professional and highly effective. And I put that down to that culture of self-reflection, of always looking for ways to improve and striving for excellence. That's been kind of instilled in me over the last, you know, however long I've been doing this in fighters, maybe 13 years I've been flying fighters, where every day you're looking to improve and you spend time focusing on what happened. You know, for us, it's debriefing. It's literally picking apart a mission minute by minute, frame by frame, looking for ways to improve things. But that stretches outside the cockpit and outside flying as well. It's that focus on improvement. You know, never thinking that you're all over something, always looking for ways to be doing things better. And I found that kind of ingrained in me and woven into my life. And I think that's a positive thing. I think it's a healthy mindset to have. And I think it means that as a person, you can always try and focus on doing things better.
There's certainly some nuggets of wisdom that you've shared just then, and I really appreciate that. Many people find those nuggets in the classroom. They're teachers, and I'm a teacher, and so I'm a bit biased. But I think teachers offer so much. I think that they seek to motivate and inspire, and they counsel and they educate and they hang in there with students and so forth. And sometimes, every now and then, a teacher comes along who you might almost frame as an inspiration. And I don't want to load you with having to think of a teacher, but I wonder if I can broaden the question around Yarra This podcast is called Inspired by Yarra. What inspired you at Yarra when you were here as a student?
That's a difficult one. It was such a long time ago. I'd find it hard to think of a particular thing that inspired me at Yarra from all those years ago. But you touched on teachers, and again, at the time at Yarra, you don't think a lot about it. You know that your teachers are professional and they're doing their job. But after the fact, again, I now have a great appreciation for the work and the commitment and the enthusiasm of the teachers at Yarra. My wife's a teacher too, so I understand what's involved. And again, only with that sort of benefit of hindsight do you realise that they're invested in it. They're not just necessarily rocking up to do their job and go home and get paid. They take pride in what they do and have personal involvement. I've got a bunch of memories of teachers whose names I've forgotten, but whose actions I remember quite clearly.
That's a beautiful reflection, actually, that it's not necessarily about the person, it's not even what they did, but it's the influence that they have on us and how they make us feel that spurs us on. And as you say, 20 years down the track, there are some of those things that still have, you acknowledge, have helped you, have shaped you, have helped you become the man, the servant, the leader that you are, which is a beautiful thing. I wonder whether you can reflect again on the notion of change between then and now. Is there anything that is important to you now that was not important to you when you were a 14, 15, 17-year-old kid at school? Something that's important now that wasn't then?
Yeah, I think there's an enormous number of things. On the surface, I'd say right now, my family, I have a wife and 2 children and a third one on the way that I wouldn't have even thought about, and nor would you expect someone to when they're at school.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I think at school you're so caught up in that, in the moment of what's going on around you and the social aspect of school, which, like I said, isn't always easy. I think that's some of the socially most difficult time of your life. When everyone's developing, you don't really know where your life's heading. You don't have a heap of independence. You're thrust into an environment with your peers that you have no real control over, but you're always going to see every day. So I remember that being a main focus of my time at school. Whereas now my life, you have a lot more choice about what you do. You can steer your own life, and my focus is on my family, my job, and engaging with the people around me and looking for happiness and for enjoying seeing happiness in others. And at school, I think, to be honest, probably fairly focused internally on just the day-to-day, week-to-week of of school.
Yeah, and just coping with the challenges of that.
Yeah, that's right. It's a surprisingly hard time, I think. There's no doubt at Yarra, everyone, or nearly everyone at Yarra, is relatively fortunate in the scheme of Australia and the world. But it's still difficult to be a kid at school.
Absolutely. You touched on there, and I just want to zero in for a moment on family. And at the moment, you're based and you go from home to work every day. Is that right?
Yeah. I live in Newcastle, half-hour drive up to the Air Force Base.
So you then commute, you travel home to your family each afternoon, each evening. You spend, you're a dad, you take your uniform off and you're a dad and you do all the good things and the challenging things that being a dad involves, and then you put your boots on in the morning and you get back to work. Yeah,
exactly right.
Okay, so that's the lifestyle at the moment. How old's your eldest child?
4.
Okay. Well, let me take you through to a different time in your future, where I'm at now, and many of our listeners are at. Some of them have already been through this and journeyed through this, but we're almost approaching the time when I've got to sit in the passenger seat of the car, and my L-plater son is going to take control of the wheel. And both my wife and I are interested to work out how that's going to work and so forth. But let me take you back to your role at the moment. You sit in the back seat of a fighter jet and you have a learner sitting in front of you.
Trying to kill me every day, yeah.
What are some things that happened, and do you have any tips for those of us who are in the passenger seat of a vehicle? What can we learn about taking our learner drivers through the process?
You got one great advantage in my job compared to being in the passenger seat of a car is that I've got a set of controls where I can take control of the jet if I need to. So that's a luxury that you don't have when your 16-year-old child is jumping behind the wheel for the first time. I think something we do in the training is, we step through things very slowly. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. I don't know whether that's practical or whether your 16-year-old's going to be willing to take an hour of preparation before jumping in their car each time. You might find yourself very quickly replaced by an uncle or something. But preparation, talking about things before are helpful. And for me, being able to grab control before a fiery death.
Yes, well, I'm glad you do have that control. That is important. That's very important. I wonder whether you might give me the opportunity to throw a few fairly quick questions at you, and it's going to take you back to Yarra and stretch your memory maybe just a little bit. But can you recall? Tell us, what house were you in?
Maroney one. Arnott? Is that a house? Arnott? Or is
yes.
I'm just getting confused with the biscuits.
Absolutely.
No, I think that one. Is that the Maroney colour?
We'll take Arnott. Tell me, what might we find in your lunch box? If you opened up your lunch, you're in year 10. What's a regular?
Vegemite and cheese sandwich, muesli bar. I think there are always sweet things, which, unfortunately, I'm as skinny and weedy as I am. But yeah, I think, Vegemite sandwiches, muesli bars were common. No, you're right. Can't remember any more than that. Maybe that was it. Maybe it was a diet of muesli bars and sandwiches.
Who made your lunch?
I think I shouldn't say I think. I better not tell my mum to listen to this. My mum made my lunch. I think maybe towards the older years I probably had more influence, but it was definitely mum.
If given the choice between swimming sports and athletic sports, what would you prefer?
I don't look good in swimmers. I'm built like a beanpole. So purely on the optics of it, then athletics. Not that I was particularly good at either. No, I think athletics generally.
Fair enough. I wonder, do you recall, and by the sounds of it, you're probably more likely to be in the audience rather than on the stage, but was there a musical, a performance, a drama that springs to mind, something that you thought that I guess sticks out in your memory?
There was a Wizard of Oz, I think, back in the day. That's pushing it. It's probably circa 1995 or something. We should look that up, but no, that's about it. Yeah, like I mentioned, I was never a particularly artistic kind of person, but I remember one. Or I've just rolled the dice with a common high school musical type thing, and we'll see. Someone can fact check that. Yes,
one way or another, you're probably right. Tell us, on leaving school, what was your first car?
A 1985 Honda Integra. Pop-up headlights, red. Very fast for a 17-year-old boy. It wasn't particularly, but I still liked it, and it was functional. Although I couldn't drive. I finished school when I was 17, so for 6 months I was in the Air Force, going to uni with the Air Force and scabbing lifts off my mates, which was actually not a bad thing.
Yes, in hindsight, at one point you want that control, but actually when you're the one who's got to put fuel in the car and all of that sort of thing, getting a lift is quite helpful sometimes.
Yeah, yep.
Tell us about a book or a documentary that you have been motivated by or inspired by. It could be a movie as well. I'm going to claim Top Gun, so you can't use that.
Can I go Top Gun 2, yet to be released? Inspired by. I am currently reading something by Steven Pinker. And what's it called? Should at least know the title. I've told you I'm reading it, but you'll have to trust me. I'm reading the words on the inside, but maybe not the cover. But I'm really enjoying that. And a previous work of his called The Better Angels of Our Nature. I think they're inspirational from a broad perspective because they focus on how the world, the earth that we're living in, is so much better in almost every objective, measurable way for people, for humans, than it ever has been before. You turn on TV, it's easy to get the opposite idea, but Steven Pinker lays out the facts that I think no one could argue with if you read either of these books, that in almost any objective and reasonable, measurable way, life is a lot better than it used to be. So it paints a very positive picture for humanity, which is great. Obviously, not stop trying, but it's a wonderful time to be living, and all indications are that on the whole, at a broad level, that should keep improving, and that makes me happy and optimistic for my children.
And I'm waiting for the and yet, because I think the and yet to that positive situation, which I agree with as well, and yet their level of happiness, or maybe the level of mental challenge, depression, the divorce rates are continuing to get higher and higher. Dare I say, suicide is something that is, very prevalent in our community. And yet we've got it so good, and yet it appears that we're still not satisfied. Does he give us any insight into the reasons why, or what we can do to keep making things better?
I'd be a brave man to try and forecast or explain the reasons why, but there's no doubt that even at the bigger level, a lot of the trends are positive. That doesn't mean it's necessarily any easier at an individual level with the daily challenges that everyone has to deal with them, and all the difficulty that come with probably every human life. I'm sure those haven't changed a lot for as long as people have been around. A lot of the background things about health and life expectancy and access to resources and education can improve, but people still have to deal with a lot of the hardships, and that's never going to go away. So clearly, there's a lot of work to still be done, but I'm encouraged by the overall trends, which is good. Yeah, like I say, I wouldn't offer any advice or any way of dealing with it. That's a question that's bigger than me.
Fair enough, and yet you're right, and I also am one to look at the positives and appreciate that there's never been a better time to live. And that's what we've got to do, don't we? We've got to live in the moment. We've got to be here and now, and at the same time reflect back, and that's what we've had the opportunity to do here. We've gone back and we've traced some of the steps that have led to today, to this moment, and to you in your career and me in mine, and this conversation. I want to throw something out at you that you may recall, and that is our school motto, Levavi Oculis. Does that ring any bells? Do you know what it means? I can help you if you like.
Lift up our eyes?
Lift up our eyes. If I offer that term to you, our school motto, Levavi Oculis, to lift up your eyes, what does that phrase mean to you? Either, what did it mean to you when you were a young lad, or what does it mean to you today?
I think it's triggering the school song. Is that's something I haven't thought about in 19 and a half years. But
you're very welcome to give us a few bars if you like.
A rendition. You've got the microphone, but I'll start. You lead. I'll join. No, let's not do that to anyone. I think looking upwards and forwards is taking a positive view on and things, and I could link it back to what I was talking about before, which is improvement and development. If you're looking upwards and forwards, you're looking to improve yourself and other people, and try and make things more positive, always improving.
Absolutely, and I like that, and that aspirational nature of that phrase and that term, and quite clearly the way that you've built your life is on that looking forward and seeking to better yourself and better those around you. And I think that's quite admirable. If I offer the term success, what does success look like to you?
It's a very individual thing, and it's changed for me over time. If you asked me leaving school, I would have said getting my wings, becoming a qualified pilot. If you asked me approaching that point where I was going to get qualified, it would be becoming a qualified fighter pilot. If you asked me, as I was about to become a qualified fighter pilot, it would be, reaching a certain level of performance flying or going on operations. But for now, for me, having done a lot of the things that I set out to do, I'm much more focused on my family. Now I've been lucky enough to be able to follow my dream and do a lot of the things I set out to do. So now I'm fortunate where I can change course and feel satisfied with a lot of things I've done. And my main goal now is to have a happy home front and have 3 happy, healthy children who develop well and set them up for an enjoyable life, satisfying life.
Fantastic. And it sounds like you've got the commitment and the dedication that your career has led you through and has grown in you to continue to play that out in on the home front as well. And that's certainly a worthy target and a worthy goal for sure. I imagine, although in your career, more than many of us, failure has the potential to be disastrous. Have you had some trips and stumbles and falls along the way? Have you had to push the ejector button?
Haven't had to eject, fortunately. That's very, very bad. It's very much a last resort kind of thing where you're breaking bones, but you're surviving. It's pretty rare, luckily. As for failure, then yeah, a lot. And that's a reality of, well, life in general, but certainly becoming and being a fighter pilot is a bunch of failure. The just through training, there's a large attrition rate. It's challenging to get in the door in the first place. Then you invest years of your life and focusing on something, and maybe only 50% of people get their wings, become a pilot. Of those, maybe 20% go to jets, and of that 20%, then 50% drop out along the way as well. So every day you're flying, and during that training over years, you're being assessed in detail every single day, and have people focusing on all the things that you do wrong. And sometimes it's just negative points, and sometimes it's actual failure where the person says to you, "Hey, that you failed that ride," because every flight is a test, and you have to go back and learn more, do it again, and try and get through, knowing that 2 fails and your career is over essentially. So for years, you're never more than a week away from doing something else, driving a bus. So that is challenging, but it also means that you get comfortable with failure, and it puts your attention onto improving and developing. You're never that far away from from failure, and everyone has adversity in different ways in their lives, and no one things are going to go to plan. So learning to have a bit of perspective on failure, I think, is really important. And taking a positive attitude towards it. So taking the lessons and the positives away from it, resolving to try and improve and do things better, and then throwing yourself back into it again. I think they're important lessons, and something that was prevalent during training. And obviously, even once finished training, there's failure. Flying a jet around with other jets in close proximity and close to the ground can have serious consequences. So it's something that you get fairly comfortable in, living a life close to to significant failure.
It's remarkable. We're speaking with Chris Chmiel from the class of 2000, squadron leader of the Royal Australian Air Force. Chris, based on some of the reflections and the stories that you've shared with us, it seems to me that you have put yourself into high-pressure situations, pressure that most of us would never actually understand. What does it take to cope with pressure? How do you manage the stress of all that information coming at you? Both visually and the jet itself is giving you all this information. You're also being assessed, and one wrong move and that might be your career, but it might be your life, and that's a high pressure situation. So tell me a little bit about stress.
Yeah, I mean everyone has stress in different ways and types. So I don't know whether I've got more than average person, but certainly like professionally, it is a stressful job. Partly from the physical thing of flying and that focus on flying, but also the social stress that is tied to your performance at work, which again is common across a lot of jobs. I don't know if I have any grand tactics for dealing with it. As far as dealing with the the volume of information and things coming at you when you're flying a jet. I find consciously choosing where to focus your attention at any given second is a key thing. And that I think applies across life when there's a lot of input and stimulus and a lot is happening in your life. If you deliberately decide where to look at that moment in time and what you want to be doing, that can help give you something to focus on. And it means you have a plan for dealing with things, like you're consciously deciding things and in control rather than being reactionary to whatever is happening at you. So I don't have any gold dust for you, Paul, but I don't know. We're fortunate during the training we take fairly slow steps. We learn bit by bit. So something that if I were to throw you in a jet and go and do now might be eye-watering. Is built up to over a series of flights and well prepared, well rehearsed. So you're well prepared by the time that happens.
I think I'd have struggled just getting up the ladder, to be honest. But look, Chris, you've been wonderfully generous with your time, and I really appreciate your generosity of storytelling and of reflection, and your ability to put words together has been terrific. And maybe that's also a reflection on your ability to process information and then pick the piece of information that you then want to share, and you've articulated it beautifully. So for that, we are very, very grateful. I have only one question left. And I want you to answer the question and then answer the question. And my question is, what is the one question that you really wished I had asked you?
Oh.
Can you ask it and then answer it?
Oh, I'm going to need some time, some thinking music.
Yes. We can play some thinking music in the background.
Can you sing a little song or something for me? All right. How about this? How about what bit of advice would you give to young people or to yourself 20 years ago? How about that?
Good question. What do you got for us?
Oh, good one, Paul. Let me answer that for you. No, I think I touched on it earlier. I think don't take yourself too seriously. One big one would be don't compare yourself to anyone else. You don't know what their life and their journey is about. It's easy to look for comparisons and use other people as a yardstick, but I think that's really dangerous and unhealthy because on the surface you don't really know what's going on with other people, and it really doesn't matter. I think you should focus on your own life and try to avoid making comparisons with other people because invariably that can just lead to negative comparisons which aren't healthy. Keep a sense of humour.
Chris Chmiel from the class of 2000, thank you for your time. Thanks for your generosity. Thanks for the inspiration and for your storytelling and reflection along the way. We are grateful to you. And clearly there is some inspiration inside of you that is from Yarra, and now you continue to be an inspiration back to Yarra. So for that, we thank you and we salute you.
Thanks, Paul. It's been fun.
And that all but wraps up another episode of Inspired by Yarra. And I hope you enjoyed the rolls and the twists and the turns and the hard corners that we veered around and the G-forces that we gained in talking with Chris Chmiel from the class of 2000. What a well thought through interview in terms of his responses, his thoughtfulness, his reflection. There's wisdom there on those relatively young shoulders. And I guess that's the way we'd want it, to have somebody who is measured and thoughtful in control of something so powerful. And now wonderful to hear that while by day he teaches other fighter pilots, he looks forward at the end of his working day to head home and be with his family. Inspired by Yarra is a podcast where we're seeking to unpack the stories and the adventures that Yarra old grammarians have lived and are continuing to live as they seek to be an inspiration to others. We'd encourage you to stay connected to the YOG community and to our wider Yarra Valley Grammar community. And probably the best way to do that is via the www.yvg.vic.edu.au website. And we have a section up there along the top. If you drop down on the community section, you'll find all of the bits and pieces that are going on and that are planned for the future. My name's Paul Joy, and so on behalf of everybody at Yarra and also those who are involved in putting these episodes together. I want to wish you another day of inspiration where you go out with a certain level of intentionality in a bid to make an impact, a positive change in the world around you.